Welcome back to Second Kings. And one thing that's really coming through to me is just how clearly we can see how powerful the prophets were in Israel's day. God really used them to accomplish many mighty feats among the and anoint kings. So here we found out that Elisha sent one of his prophets to anoint Jehu as king of Judah. He was also given the very heavy tasks of that's Jehu of wiping out Ahab's dynasty. So far, the dynasties of Israel have had have proven to be unfaithful to God up until this point, right? So Jehu's anointing by a lesser prophet is thought to have been so because his role was one of executing vengeance, and also his dynasty would eventually prove to be prone to idolatry as well. And I wondered why it was so in those days. Like, why was it so hard in those days for people to like worship God and follow God wholeheartedly? I think about it and I thought about it even in this day. Like, most things aren't different. Now, we have all kinds of idols, even though they might not be gods of iron and stone. We have our phones, we have the internet, we have social media, we have all these other things that are idols that we just can't separate ourselves from. The commanders immediately accepted Jehu, and this reflected the military ineptness of Jehoram and Ahaziah and Ahaziah. Listen, these names. The people were likely to be discontented with their leadership in those days. Jehu executed God's judgment on Jehoram and killed him and dumped his body in Naboth's vineyard, where it all started. Remember that all this just started because Ahab wanted his vineyard, as God has said concerning him. Jezebel too was killed according to the prophecy of Elijah. Jehu extended the purge of Israel to Judah because David's line was in danger of extinction because of the intermarriage with Ahab's family. That's why all Ahaziah's brothers had to be killed as well, because after he had killed Ahab's 70 sons, he went ahead and killed the brothers and then killed Ahab's 70 sons. Jehu's campaign of vengeance appears very extreme and severe, and it was really because it wasn't a mission. Because he was on a mission to wipe out Baal worshippers. He was also commended for doing so. However, a later word from the Lord to Hosea made it clear that Jehu's bloodshed was excessive, and we can find out more about that in Hosea 1:4. Jehu's continuation in idolatry with the golden calves kept him in the line of judgment. He was more zealous in illuminating people than he was the idols, because he just kept killing and killing and killing and killing, but he didn't wipe out he was killing and destroying the Baal altars, but he left those two golden calves. It is true that some of the most difficult enemies to defeat are our personal idols, the things that we put before God in our lives. And sometimes they are not just things, sometimes they are even people. Some people put their husbands, their children, their family, before God, and all those things are personal idols. Jehu reigned for 28 years, but during his reign, Israel lost a lot of land to the enemies and even became a subject country to king of Assyria. Chapter 11 recounted the death of Athaliah, the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, who married Jehoshaphat's firstborn son, Jehoram of Judah. Just like her mother had, she promoted Baal worship and led her husband and the people of Israel away from God. After Ahaziah's death, she took the throne illegitimately and killed all her grandsons in order to ensure that she reigned. She was the only ruler not of David's line who ruled in Israel, and she carried out her idolatrous traditions for the period that she reigned, which was about 6 years. She had no support from the Levitic priesthood, and saving and crowning of her grandson Joash was the turning point in Judah's history. He was 7 years old when he was made king. Now here's my hashtag getting to know God lesson. Everything that we see and experience in our journey through our lives, even when it seems as if life is just happening, all of this works together to fulfill God's plan. He is in the working out of his plans, even in the seemingly evil and impossible situations. Even when he is not in the foreground, he is always in the background working. And this story just shows you how. I mean, with Jehu, or the killing or the execution, and even allow, because for me, I was like, how would God even allow Athaliah to sit on that throne for 6 years? But it was all, for to God's glory, and it's all to God according to his plan. Because remember, Joash now reigned when he was 7, so he was like 1 year old so who knows, whatever it was, God gives evil time to do what he feels that he's doing, but God is still in the background. So I hope that encourages someone who might be going through a hard time now and feels like God isn't there. He's always there, even in the background. Thank you for joining me today. Tomorrow we'll continue with 2 Kings 12 to 13, and we'll read 2 Chronicles 24. See you here. Bye.